Hello and welcome back to the Forge Alliance for Retard series with your host Nibelosky, bringing you another top 10 video. This time it's going to be my personal, with emphasis on personal, favourite units in Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. The units listed in this video may not necessarily be the best, but in my experience have proven to be the most fun and effective units to use in a variety of situations. This is by no means to be used as a guide, simply entertainment. Also, the order in which the units go are not to be reflected as my preferences, they are just 10 of my favourite units. For this video, I'll give my reasons as to why they are my favourites, and a mini montage to go with the unit. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Start Nibeloskys 10 favourite units in Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. The first of my personal favourites starts right at the bottom of the tech ladder. The Seraphim Zuy is one of the most versatile units in the game. Acting as a deadly accurate form of T1 artillery, it can also hover, which means it can go anywhere on the map. Its usefulness spreads beyond its tech stage, and can often be used as a cheap form of harassment for naval engagements. In great numbers, they can even be used against direct fire units in a one-on-one battle. The Zuy is a hard-hitting, hovering, harmonious unit, which is to never be underestimated. Before I start going into the details of why I love the Obsidian Tank, I feel it's best to say why I'm not a fan of the other faction's main Tech 2 tanks. Starting with the Pillar, it is exactly the reason its name describes. It's a pillar. Although sturdy and reliable, it does nothing exciting. Double-barrel tanks are a thing of old RTS games, and it designed as nothing to look exciting or appealing for a futuristic RTS like Supreme Commander. With the Cybran Rhino, I do love the design of the tank, as I do with most Cybran units. However, its lasers are just too unimpressive when facing its Tech 2 counterparts. Although I attest to how cheap it is to make, I always feel a little let down when using them. Lastly, the Seraphim Cruiser. This was nearly my choice for this slot, and it didn't make it for one reason. It looks like a chicken. And there's no escaping, it looks like a chicken. Its fire rate is devastating, it's fairly reasonable to build, and in groups can often devastate an entire horde of other Tech 1 and Tech 2 units. But there is no escaping, it doesn't have the fine lines of the Obsidian Tank. The Obsidian has massive flaws of its own, I agree. The slowest rate of fire, often misses its target and can get overwhelmed by Tech 1 units, but it's a behemoth of immense power. Its main cannon destroys pretty much anything, up to and including Tech 3 units. Its shield holds off incredible amounts of damage, and in small groups can often tip the battle in your favour. Also, looks the best, in my humble opinion. Corsair is a guilty pleasure, and the reason I like it is its missile volley. Although other Tech 2 factions' attack bombers fare better in air-to-air combat, the missile volley is one of the most entertaining to watch, especially in groups. I've seen commanders be brought to their knees by Corsairs and economies be ruined by well micro bombing runs. Also, the design makes it look ferocious. Out of the bombers in its class, for me this is what it's all about. It looks menacing, flies smoothly and dives like a Japanese kamikaze pilot. A bomber befitting of its faction. The only naval unit to make it onto my list, although the UEF battle cruiser, Aeon missile ship, and Seraphim Tech 3 sub-hunter nearly made the cut, the Seraphim Cruiser is the best looking and its anti-air is devastating. Although the UEF governor is fantastic and has the same great abilities, I find the impact of the Seraphim Cruiser's missiles far more satisfying to watch. And that anti-air ability is incredible, especially in a large pack. I will concede that the Seraphim Cruiser does have a very handy direct fire capability, and the Seraphim Cruiser is outmatched without a lot of naval support. But, for me, this unit is a pleasure to watch. You knew it was coming, and it's the most well-known unit for a reason. It's cheap, it's devastating, it's versatile, and will trample happily over land units, naval units, and to a certain extent air units. So the Megalith is a devastating long-range behemoth compared to its Cybran experimental counterpart. I would rather have 3 Monkey Lords on the field. The red laser suits the futuristic style of the game, and the legs work harmoniously to give the Monkey Lord that unique look none of the experimental bots have. As soon as the electron bolters start firing from the fog of war, you know that without adequate preparation you're going to have a bad time. I understand its hit points are far less than other experimentals, but the cost more than makes up for that. A great unit with so many uses. Perhaps the most controversial choice on my list. In fact, it's a unit I don't use that often for one simple reason. I'm not good enough with them. However, unlike a long-range sniper shot, the satisfaction of threading mercies through the anti-air of your opponent's front lines is not only massively gratifying, it's excellent to eradicate your opponent's economy, and in many cases, commander. Although the Mercy has limited use, and it has such limited hit points, it adds to the satisfaction of pulling off hits when using it. Timing, planning, and effort are the Mercy's calling cards, and when used can be a game ender. Just don't forget about them. the second experimental unit on the list. Very different from the Monkey Lord and loved for different reasons. The GC is like the Obsidian, outwardly devastating with enough hit points to trample its way all the way through your enemy front lines and back again. Also, like nearly all Aeon units, it's a pleasure to look at. As opposed to the Seraphim Zuy, which looks as if it's been on a crash diet and could fall over in a gentle breeze, the Galactic Colossus looks as if it's made of reinforced hardened space age materials. In addition, its two arms pick up units. They literally hoover the floor in front of anything less than an experimental. Watching Tech 3 units being magnetised through the air and crushed is almost like winning a prize from the grabber machine in the bowling alley. I agree that its complete lack of anti-air ability is frustrating, as without air it becomes totally useless. However, to not have at least a degree of air control to begin with probably speaks to the failures of building a GC in the first place rather than getting air control back. Between the Monkey Lord and the GC was too difficult, so both make this list. The reason the Percival makes this list rather than the Brick comes down simply to the name and the look. Whereas bricks build houses, in the poem Percival, who was one of King Arthur's knights of the Round Table, was given a glimpse of the Holy Grail. This is exactly what the Percival is. A glimpse of prosperity in the face of defeat. When faced with experimentals, these units are enough to take it down in just a few volleys of fire. I understand that the Brick's rate of fire is better, and because of its torpedo launchers can be used in a naval battle. But the Percival sounds better, it looks better, and it lances its way onto this list. The third and last Aeon unit on this list, which is ironic, as it is actually the faction I play the least. But I concede, when I see a group of restorers heading my way, I never fail to cringe. Why? As I know on average it'll take around 3 ASFs to take down just one of these huge gunships. I will admit the restorer's main guns do sound pitiful compared to other T3 gunships available, but its anti-air ability and intimidation factor alone often sways the tide of battle. Typically, if you hold the advantage in the skies, you hold the advantage everywhere else, and the Restorer does this. Although only truly useful in a group, its hit points allow you to advance menacingly towards a target in full knowledge you will cause an incredible amount of damage. I can't say this unit has made it to the top of the list for its looks, as I feel the broadsword looks better, sounds better, and generally gets a thumbs up for being devastating. But due to its complete inability to fight off air attacks, it didn't make it on this list, and the Restorer did. My last choice of unit comes down to really one reason. It's the unit that I've personally used most in the air. Its hit points are good, its rate of fire is fair, and is for me the most dependable unit to have on your side when fighting air engagements. The Gemini's missiles, I feel, don't offer the crisp accuracy, and the Seraphim ASF just looks like the Seraphim Experimental Bomber has had a case of severe shrinkage. The only unit this may have competed with is the Corona. I just prefer the look of the Wasp, as it partially reminds me of the American Raptor, and in my opinion, one of the best looking jets ever created. The Wasp is a clean-cutting, crisp delivery of air superiority, and that is why it makes the last slot on my favourite unit list. And that concludes my 10 favourite units from Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to like and subscribe to the video if you have enjoyed it. If you don't agree with my list, feel free to list your 10 favourite units in the comments below. But until next time, see you then.